guys' tongues have been in your mouth. Yeah, other guys' tongues have been in your mouth. But that's okay, 'cause you brushed your teeth.
Now this is a weird one. We begin the episode in church. Reverend Putty's sermon on this Sunday is about the importance of marriage, because
when a man and woman are joined together in holy matrimony, they become one and pray as one.
But most of his sermon comes off as basically a long 4chan post written by an incel with the classic white knight mentality of men don't appreciate their wives, I would treat her so much better. This is because Putty is an actual incel. But more on that in a later video. By the way, I love this guy's reaction as Putty starts to slip into a deep lake of self-loathing. However, the message gets through to Orel, and he makes it his mission to become a good husband, even though he doesn't have a wife yet. Orel attempts to get advice from women in his life, but they aren't much help because they are all cold and distant. Clay's advice is to read what other men think make women happy, specifically men that would today be called red-pilled or a MGTOW. His research includes an S&M magazine, which leads him to Buried Pleasure, the only sex toy shop in Morrilton. Orel asks the lady for
piercing that will increase the pleasure of intercourse.
For some reason, the clerk agrees and performs the piercing, causing Orel to faint afterwards. The lady cares for him and his Johnston until Orel feels well enough to leave. Orel can't help but feel she's different from the other women in his life.
You're...
warm?
Yeah.
They officially introduce themselves.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
I'm Orel.
And off Orel goes.
Ow.
The next day after gym, Stop Frame sees Orel's new appendage and gives Clay a call. After school, Orel returns to Buried Pleasure, and it becomes apparent to Stephanie that Orel wants to spend more time with her. She explains that he should be in the real world, learning and growing, not spending time in a sex shop. With the friendship blossoming between these two, you can practically hear the music from Persona 4 when you level up a social link. However, as Orel walks outside, his father pulls up.
Express bus, one way only, to my study.
Clay tells Orel to stay away from Stephanie, but when Orel says that she's really nice, Clay explains that she's only nice because she's different, and that when you're different, there's no need to be friendly, just like everyone else in Morrilton. When the subject of Orel's Prince Albert comes up, he explains that he only wanted to make his future wife happy, so God will listen to their prayers. Clay explains that women don't need fancy equipment or even sex at all to be happy, just a house to clean and mouths to feed.
Now let's go make your mom even happier and eat her food.
Now I want to talk a bit about Stephanie and then Bloberta. Stephanie is a nice addition to the cast of characters. In contrast to everyone else in Orel's life, she isn't religious and doesn't try to cram dogma into his head. While her outward appearance makes her stand out, it's her kindness that makes her shine in the town of Morrilton. And that's what makes Orel a good person. He can see through and accept their differences. However, I do have to question her judgment when it comes to piercing Orel's dick, and it's pretty weird she refers to his Johnston as a her. But you also notice that she never uses the words young or old, instead saying short or tall. I believe this is because referring to someone as young or old can imply lack or having wisdom. Typically, when a person's youth is brought up, it's in a negative way, that they lack experience and therefore not as intelligent as their elders. And in a place like Morrilton, with so many negative people, I'm sure Stephanie has been told in her youth that her rebellious individuality is simply a result of her being too young to understand how the world works. That when she gets older, she'll understand. But as we've seen from the adults so far in the series, age doesn't always bring wisdom. In a stark contrast to Stephanie, we have Orel's mother, Bloberta. For everyone that's been watching my Book of Orel videos so far, you've probably noticed I've hardly mentioned her. I'll admit that I kind of thought of that as a little mini running joke, but mostly I was waiting for the perfect opportunity to at least start a discussion on her. And in the episode where we meet Stephanie, I think it's as good as time as any. Bloberta is cold and distant to her family. Just like most of the women in Morrilton, she allows herself to fall into the mold of wife and mother, the exact opposite of Stephanie.
Uh-oh, maternal pang. All gone.
Bloberta spends her days obsessively cleaning the house as well as the items she used to clean. She is so unhappy that the only thing that keeps her from focusing on her misery is cleaning. She's trapped in a cycle, in a life that she doesn't want, but lacks the strength to get out, just like her husband Clay. In closing, we have a whole lot more moral Orel and of Bloberta and Stephanie that I don't want to spoil it quite yet. Thanks for watching. See you next time.